Welcome to Deciphering Disinformation. This is a course about propaganda, its history in America, and its true menace to society. It's the course you should have had in high school. My goal is to enable you to recognize propaganda so that you can protect yourself from its malign effects. First, a little bit about me. If you're like most people, you want to know who it is that you're learning from. Fair enough. First off, I'm not a history teacher, but seeing that your history teacher probably failed you, I was willing to step up and help out. About 10 years ago, I got pulled down the rabbit hole, so to speak, after reading How We Advertised America by George Creel. He headed the Committee on Public Information in World War I. I was stunned by Creel's brazen boasting about advertising a war. It seemed egregious to me to advertise a war, and it still does. Like most people, I didn't learn that America engaged in propaganda. Actually, the term American propaganda was like an oxymoron to me. Those two words went together like oil and water. That revelation sparked my interest, and as I pulled on one thread, one thing led to another, which led to another. Finally, I wrote a book entitled One Idea to Rule Them All, which is the basis of this course. So let's move on to point number one. You can't defend yourself against a threat you can't define. If I'm at war and I'm trying to defend an area and I don't know that military drones exist, that's a problem, right? I'm blind to what could harm me. Well, the same thing is true about propaganda, except that it's not a physical thing. It's an abstract tool an enemy could and would use against you if you're not alert. Currently, there's a lot of terms being thrown around related to propaganda. Disinformation, misinformation, fake news. It seems hard to discern the truth. Most of the current buzz, however, is smokescreen. There's actually a much more subtle and all-pervasive threat that's hidden that we'll be exposing during this course, and in time you'll be able to see right through it. Secondly, I'd like you to understand what I call the marketplace of ideas. In America, we assume that there's a free exchange of ideas in areas like science and medicine, politics, the news media, and the academy. Now, we could include a few more spheres of influence on the diagram, but for now this is enough. But we'd like to believe that those ideas are exchanged freely through those spheres. So in science, there's theory and counter-theory, and it churns and it brings new and fresh ideas. And the top ideas rise to the top for the benefit of all mankind. Let's solve cancer, cure diseases, etc. In politics, the same thing, right? We don't want a rehash of stale left versus right counter-arguments. If there's truly a better idea, we'd like that idea to rise to the top and get selected. We don't want a small group of moneyed interests influencing, let's say, the legislative process, our electoral system, or our judicial system. That would mean that things are kind of rigged. In the news, we don't want a small group of people with money to control what everybody sees and hears, influencing our entire impression of what's going on in the world. That's pretty powerful stuff, right? And finally, the academy is supposed to be the essence of free exchange of ideas. You've got philosophy, psychology, all these disciplines, and they're cross-pollinating with other disciplines. Iron sharpening iron, the best ideas rising to the top. We live in a democracy. We do not believe that the ideas are rigged to win. Now, Victor Hugo, the French poet and novelist, once said that nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. He recognized that ideas are revolutionary. That's one reason why our First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech. Let all ideas compete and let the best idea win. If instead we have a monopoly of ideas, then we have a major problem. Propaganda is the attempt to monopolize not all ideas, but the critical ones, so that the game is actually rigged. Now finally, we're going to talk about the course goals that will protect you from propaganda infiltration. So, number one, we're going to bulletproof your mind, okay, to help you understand how the propagandist uses your innate infrastructure of belief instead of facts to manipulate you without your permission. It's not a rational fight for your mind, and if you're not prepared for that, you're going to fail every time. All right, so number two, we're going to bulletproof your emotions in the midst of chaos, media noise, by understanding the primal architecture of the brain so that you can discern truth from lies. emotions are played so that you cannot think straight and you follow blindly down a predetermined path, following your emotions like sheep. That's not a good thing. Number 3, we're going to bulletproof your heart by understanding that the best propaganda, and this is really key, hacks the very people, institutions, and organizations you trust the most. So the best deception hides behind trusted entities. That's a really important key. Right? And number 4, we're going to bulletproof your future, the path that you want to walk on, by learning how to reverse engineer disinformation campaigns to uncover the real objectives and the true beneficiaries before the trap closes behind you. If you can see where they're leading you and the true goal, because it's usually to pick your pocket in some way, then you're going to have the vision to see the trap and not get caught in it. This concludes the introduction. I'll see you in Unit 2, where we'll be busting up common myths about propaganda.